Evenings at around about 8:30. This is the Humanity Half Hour on Smile 90.4 FM, where we acknowledge individuals or organizations who are out there transforming lives and making a meaningful difference. Joining us in discussion this evening is Kyle Uckerman as well as Salim Haider. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the conversation.
Great to be here, thank you.
Good evening, Kyle. Good evening, Benito, and the listeners.
Thank you, Salim, and thank you, Kyle, for joining us. Kyle, if I can start with you, you've come up with a rather interesting concept. You designed a concept that rewards volunteer work. Why do you feel that volunteer work needs to be rewarded?
So, in my experience, volunteer work is not generally promoted as something that the poor can do. It's more for like middle class, upper class people. And I really think volunteer work has the power to be transformative in the lives of the underprivileged. Because when you volunteer, you're not just giving back and developing your community, but you're building skills. And that's a huge need and a huge help for those from underprivileged communities.
Okay. And how did you develop this concept? I mean, what was the motivation behind it? You in private business, as I understand it.
That's correct, yeah. Previously, I'm a software developer.
Yeah.
I was part of co-founding a volunteer management software. I was living in Europe at the time. And that experience in that whole arena is kind of what sparked the idea. We had actually a South African coffee shop approach us asking, hey, is there a way that I can somehow see how much someone has volunteered so I can reward them for their time? And this kind of clicked that switch on that, hey,
okay,
there's something here. Businesses want to reward those that do good in our communities.
Okay. So you've got this concept that rewards volunteer work. How does it evolve and sort of become real and tangible? What is the next step?
So it's a digital currency.
Okay.
We're all on the hype of digital currencies these days. But it's a bit different because we're actually using it to track people's time. So for every hour that someone volunteers, they earn one Vollar. And it's all digital, a mobile app. Or we're also developing USSD codes. So you can use your star one for whatever to interact with it. Someone shows up at a nonprofit. The nonprofit tracks their time and they earn Vollars. And then they can use that to go to, let's say, a grocery store or some retailer to buy life essentials. So we actually just ran with Salim our first test yesterday for Madiba Day. Was it Klapmuts?
Correct.
Yeah, and it was very successful. 57 volunteers showed up, and they were very well. It was taken on very well.
You're talking about apps and technology that drives this. The volunteers that you are seeking to transform, do they have digital access of this kind, or is that where the sort of USD codes can possibly assist in
Correct,
that sense?
Yeah. So that's where we're kind of shooting for both avenues because, some do have access to smartphones or data and others that don't. We want them to still benefit from this, be able to use it in store to, purchase some basic items for home.
Okay, so as you had mentioned, you piloted it yesterday on Mandela Day, and you approached the Stellenbosch municipality for this, and from the Stellenbosch municipality, Salim, how did you hear about Kyle, and upon hearing about his concept, what was your reaction to it?
Oh, completely different to how it panned out. It was actually a colleague of mine, Michelle Albers from Community Development, that called me one day and said, "Hey, there's a great concept going on at the launch lab at Stellenbosch University, and I'd like you to get involved because you've done quite a few projects, and it's a little bit like Bitcoin." And I said, "I'm not interested."
Please explain it.
Well, anyway, I decided to attend the meeting with them and saw some opportunities that we could explore in terms of maybe testing it.
Yes.
Before it can actually be rolled out into the real world. And nothing really transpired until a few weeks ago when Carl was overseas. One of his student co-ops that's working on the project called me and said, we need to just discuss it again. And we sat there and we didn't really have any tangible ideas. And I just asked her, volunteer work, Vollar, Madiba Day, seems to have a very good connotation. Why don't we trial it on the day?
Yeah.
And that's what we started pushing then, and Carl was quite happy. Being in Finland, he gave the green light for us to go ahead. And we've had what was known as the swap shop concept, where people that used to collect recyclables used to come to our trailer and exchange it for goods they would not otherwise be accessible to and have access to. And I said, why don't we use this Vollar for every 67 minutes of volunteer work that was done? We'll issue them with the Vollar. We'll put the trailer out filled with goods that they can swap. And the goods were really donated clothes, donated shoes, books, hampers, of some of which I brought into the studio, and airtime, amongst some of the things which they could swap it for. Okay. And the sort of token value of the Vollar we set at 20 Rand. Some of these gifts obviously could be exceeding it, and some could be more or less on par with it. The airtime was 20 Rand's airtime, and in my mind, I thought that the airtime would be the first thing that would be taken up by the volunteers. And I was quite surprised that it wasn't that. It was actually the hampers, the basic essentials that people need, particularly in the very low socioeconomic spectrum. That's the first needs that need to be satisfied. So Maslow's needs again come to the fore in terms of what would need to have. And I think looking at the sort of demographics of the volunteers, it actually makes a lot of sense in terms of what one would need to have at the ready should we need to take this forward.
How did you get the word out to potential volunteers that there was this opportunity of earning something in exchange for their time?
We didn't want him to know that they'd actually be earning something, because the idea behind volunteering is you're doing it out of own free will, and we wanted to surprise them by testing the concept at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was actually run by the councillor of the area, because I contacted her to ask if there's any sort of Madiba Day initiatives running, and she mentioned it to me, and I said, well, we'd like to also tie in this project, if she does not mind doing that. But if we could get a good sample of 50 plus volunteers, that will be great. And let's test the concept and give them something back in return. So in the end, what I would like to see happen one day is that the term Vollar gets into the dictionary to replace 4 words, a token of appreciation.
Yes, absolutely. And this trial run happened yesterday on Mandela Day. Where was it? At Klapmuts?
This happened at Klapmuts sports grounds, yes.
Okay. And I believe there's going to be another activity happening in Kaimandi tomorrow?
That was actually on the 13th.
Oh, was that on the 13th. And how did that go down as well?
Not well, because it never happened.
Okay.
This was actually Department of Water Affairs wanted to do their Madiba Day on the day, and they wanted to clean the Blankenbrug River. And unfortunately, and we must be thankful that it rained a lot on the day, so the water levels were quite high, and it was not safe to carry on with the project, and it was a bit risky. So they called it off, unfortunately, and we couldn't do the first trial on the day.
I see. But you managed to get the trial, and you saw some really encouraging results yesterday.
Yes.
Correct.
Where to from here then, Kyle, in terms of extending the reach of the Vollar and the awareness around it?
So we've started about a week ago into the software development phase. So we're busy developing the apps and everything that goes along with that.
I see.
Now that we have data, we'll continue to build our data, continue to run more tests. But from here on out, it's all about approaching those retailers and trying to get them on board, because we're saying to retailers that, hey, this is a way that you can use your CSI budget. Instead of just giving away money, why don't you try and give away some of your products as part of your CSI and really impact those individuals directly in your communities by allowing them to come in there, and they have now more of an incentive to go out there and do something good in their community, because they can earn something that can help them stretch their rand, because they can offset some of their living costs.
All right. Is there any way that people can find out more information at this stage, or are you still in the developing process?
They can go to vollar.org, VOLLAR.org, and that's our website. You can sign up for getting information as we start launching out, but we're hoping to see this practically used here in the Western Cape by the end of the year.
Okay, and that's not too an ambitious a deadline. You reckon you can meet that one by December? A few months.
Technologically, yes, we can.
Yeah.
But it always comes down to how the partnerships work out with the local retailers and how long it takes to actually get it into those stores.
All right. And then lastly, Sanlim, you were chatting to me off air that one of the reasons why you enjoy and get so much satisfaction about being a part of the Stellenbosch municipalities that you guys are actively engaged in breaking the stereotypes about how the general public perceives municipalities and your various engagements with your community. What is your reaction to something like this, to an initiative that Kyle has come up with?
We get very excited about it because this is a great opportunity, and I think the Stellenbosch municipality is actually positioned, very well positioned, and we're quite blessed that we right alongside a high-class university as well. So there's a lot of collaboration that are done and that can be done, and this could work both ways in terms of good initiatives which we could also support, test, and bring to the fore. The university itself produces students. There's a municipality good opportunity for internships as well, where they could get first-hand practical experience. And I think just the concept of the Vollar, it was quite amazing to see the students' reaction yesterday. It's the first time he's probably seen poverty to this sort of degree. Seeing the interaction in a real-life situation. So it provides that sort of good opportunity where, as a municipality, it's not your dead boring run-of-the-mill type of thing that you do, but at the same time, there's good creative juices that flow where we are there to service the community. The community includes everybody, students as well, the university as well, in and amongst the people. And I think by running this sort of trial yesterday, I think a lot of you could actually tick a lot of boxes to say that you've actually achieved a lot in terms of delivering a service, making people smile, giving people things that they could now access. And I think there's great opportunities going forward.
I certainly agree with you there wholeheartedly. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us in discussion and for being a part of the Humanity Half Hour. Salim Haider, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And Kyle,
thank you.
And Kyle Uckerman, congratulations on the concept and all strength going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.